This video is for content creators who want to save money. We're going to talk about apps that are alternatives to Adobe's applications. There's Adobe Lightroom, which is mainly for organizing and storing photos, and also a bit of editing. We have Photoshop, which is for advanced photo editing, and we have Adobe Premiere, which is the most robust video editor. So what are we going to talk about in today's video? Free or very cheap alternatives to replace these Adobe programs, okay? Let's go straight to my computer screen. But first, comment below. Do you edit your photos and videos yourself? Is it you, or do you have an editor? Do you use any of these Adobe programs I mentioned, or do you already use other alternatives? Comment below, I want to know. I've brought in a professional from the world of photography and editing who will help me out and provide a counterpoint here. And remember, at the end of the video, I'll share his channel so you can subscribe. It's really worth it. And I'm going to reveal some apps that I spent a year and a half, 6 months or so using the free plan before deciding to pay for them, okay? Also, keep commenting below if you've ever done this. So let's get straight to it. 3, 2, 1, go.
So the first two here that a lot of people recommended, even in the video about Adobe, is Darktable, okay? Darktable is very similar to Lightroom, very similar in quote as it has the same concept as Lightroom and is a direct competitor, but it's free. So it has a professional interface for editing raw files, a complete workflow, and I found the interface, a bit more similar to Lightroom. It's a very complete application for those who want to leave Adobe entirely, but the learning curve is a bit steep, folks, because as I said, it's similar, but it's actually quite different. So I felt a bit lost when I opened it up and tried to edit a photo. We're going to need some time to learn, some time to get used to the new tool. So for those who want a free tool, and also want to stop using alternatives that aren't legal, you know what I'm talking about, maybe Darktable is a great option for you, okay? It ran perfectly here on my machine. Guys, I'll leave the official link to the websites, for these applications here in the description. The second application, which is also free and open source, is Raw Therapy. I'm not sure if that's exactly how you pronounce it. It's also aimed at professional raw editing. It's similar to Lightroom, but a little different. It's similar, but it's different. I felt a bit lost. I watched some videos on YouTube to start trying to understand how it works. Just like with Darktable,
When you talk about RAW, for those who work with that level of editing, you record on your phone. Some already do this, right? The iPhone already does it. The latest Samsungs do it too. And also on professional cameras where you have much more editing power. But, however, the content you record, the file ends up being extremely large, okay? But you do get the ability to control everything, the colors, the contrast really well. And I've actually used this program here, the second one.
I felt a bit lost. So there's a learning curve, a period of adaptation. Of course, for anyone who wants to learn how to use these apps, there's a ton of free content here on YouTube for those who want to learn. This tool is also free, okay, guys? One thing I noticed about Raw Therapy, and after doing some research, maybe someone who uses it can clear this up for mine. Raw Therapy, we don't have a complete library like in Lightroom to organize photos. If I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments below, guys. But I couldn't find it, and after searching online, I really didn't find anything. In fact, it even says here, Raw Therapy does not have library organization like Lightroom. So this makes things a bit more limited because, for example, if you're editing a wedding or a photo shoot with a lot of photos, it might be a bit more complicated to work with. Of course, I don't have the experience of someone who's been working with it for a long time. So if you do have that experience, please comment below to let us know if it's really worth it. These two are free, okay, guys? I recommend you try them out on your own computer. Now I'm going to talk about some that are paid, but offer a trial period so we can try out the tool. The first one, without a doubt, that I have to mention that I already know and have tested is Capture One. Yeah, a lot of people have already recommended Capture One to me, which is a direct competitor to Lightroom. With Capture One, you have the option to buy it outright. So if you don't want to keep paying a monthly subscription for the app, you can just purchase it once. It's not cheap, but for those, I'll repeat what I said at the beginning, for those who work with photography, I think it's worth the investment. And
just a reminder, folks, when we talk about things like Canva and so on, we'll get to that later. Here, we're talking about when you manage or handle a lot of photos, and As he mentioned, at a wedding event, sometimes you'll have 200, 300 photos to work with. So here, it's a substitute for Adobe Lightroom. Another question about whether to pay or not, let's talk about that quickly. For example, Canva Hair, let's say the free plan is so good that I used it for about a year. I think it was a full year using the free version. Then later, some free tools started to appear. I mean, some paid tools that I could, let's say, find in other tools that would have this feature that was paid in Canva and still is but for free. For example, I just press a little button and the background disappears. It's the era of the magic eraser, right? Where you go there, paint, and erase what you want. The magic capture. I've already made like all those videos about Canva's features. The main ones, I've already done that. So when a lot of AI features started to appear and all that, I said, I'm going to pay for it. It's so much easier. After all, what do you have to do? Use the free version until you land your first client. Once you get your first client, it's the client who will pay for the tool for you. So for example, ChatGPT or Gemini, pick one of the two and pay for it. Choose Zego with the free plan. And then when you get a client, pay for ChatGPT or Gemini. I actually pay for both, but just pay for one of them. Then Canva, for example, after a while, pay for Canva. Got a client? Get Adobe Premiere or the paid version of CapCut. But I'm already giving spoilers, right? We'll talk about the alternative to Adobe Premiere later on. But anyway, find a client and the client will pay for the tool for you.
It's a software you have for the rest of your life, especially a software like Capture One, which is really good. It's widely used by fashion professionals. I shoot fashion, so I know a lot of people in fashion photography use Capture One, okay? In fact, some have already recommended it to me, as I mentioned back in the first Adobe video. It has a very easy interface, guys, very intuitive. It's a bit different from Lightroom, but for those who already work with Lightroom, it's really easy to find things, man. Capture One is really simple, really intuitive. What's interesting, guys, is that I was messing around with Capture One before making this video, and there's already a skin retouching option built into it. Man, I thought that was amazing. Check it out. That's something we don't have in Lightroom yet, but we already have it in Capture One. It looks like it's still in the early stages. We only have a few options for skin retouching, but at least it's there. So that's already a pretty important step, and I believe this feature will develop even more in a short time. So look at that. Another positive point for Capture One. The other paid app that was recommended to me is Luminar Neo. I didn't know about this app, but I took a look at it. From what I understand and from the research I did, Luminar Neo is more for those who want to work with artificial intelligence for object removal, sky replacement, skin retouching. It's an app more focused on AI, but it seems really interesting. So you also have to purchase the app to use it, but I didn't find it to be that similar to Lightroom. Just a reminder.
It's more similar to Photoshop, right? Which already has several artificial intelligence features, right?
We're here trying to find an app that's as similar as possible to Lightroom, with a library where we can organize photos, categorize them, edit, and everything else, including batch export. And the last app to replace Lightroom that I'm going to recommend to you, which is actually the app I use today, and that I've already made several videos about here on the channel, I can't leave it out, is Evoto, which is also an AI-powered editing app, but it's very similar to Lightroom, okay? Basically, when it comes to editing and photo processing, it has the same layout, the same interface as Lightroom. Of course, it's not perfect, and I'll tell you what I think could be improved. If it just had this one change, in my opinion, I would switch 100% to Evoto. Evoto, again, is a paid app, guys. It works with credits. So you buy credits, and each credit equals one exported photo. The more credits you buy, the cheaper it gets. I'll emphasize again, for those who work with portrait photography, I really think it's worth it. The time you spend editing in Photoshop, with just one click in Evoto, it's done and looks perfect. Very natural. I highly recommend it. Eric, but I think the credits are too expensive. Of course, for those just starting out in photography, it really is gonna be expensive, guys. But Evoto is for those who are already at an intermediate or advanced level, for those who want to save editing time, okay? One thing I think about Evoto,
especially because you save time, and you know what you do then? You get more clients, right? Time is money, right?
What could be improved is this. Look, I'll give you an example. I do a photo shoot in the studio, 500 photos. I export these photos from Lightroom in low resolution to send to the client in my gallery so the client can choose, okay? After the client chooses, I edit those photos, just the selected ones, I don't know, 15, 20 photos. For us to do this in Evoto, we will have to use credits to export these photos in low resolution. I think what's missing is finding a way for the user to export in low resolution, right? Without editing, in low resolution for the client to select. I think Evoto has the potential to replace Lightroom, okay? I think this little detail is missing here, which I find really important for those who work in a studio. I still need to use Lightroom to do this, to export in low resolution, because Evoto doesn't have it. And remember, with Evoto, we can also use the same presets as Lightroom, so that's excellent. I also can't forget to mention Aftershoot. Even though we can edit directly in Aftershoot, it's a really cool tool for selecting photos. Now we're moving on to Photoshop. Photopea, it's Photopea, I think that's how you say it, Photopea. It's free.
Photopea, that's right.
Guys, and it's online. There's also Canva. I could mention Canva, which can also be used to partially replace Photoshop. Of course, for a graphic designer's work, maybe Canva or Photopea isn't ideal.
Canva is really good because it does pretty much everything, right? And now, recently, it keeps buying several companies. They bought Leonardo AI, which is one of the main artificial intelligences for generating extremely high-quality photos. And now it's also generating videos. So what do? They keep Leonardo AI available for use, but they also integrate it into Canva. So with Canva, you can create marketing materials, photo content, video content, presentations, and a whole range of things like that. You can basically do almost everything with it, right? So it's something really complete. And look, Canva Pro is pretty affordable. I wish I were a Canva affiliate because, well, I'm going to recommend it anyway, right? But I could at least share the link, right? Anyway, folks, like he said, you can learn the tools on YouTube. There are hundreds, even thousands of tutorials. I don't even say, oh, buy my course to learn the tool anymore, because if you just look, everything is on YouTube. Now, learning how to use these tools to monetize, to make money, that only comes with real experience. I started as an entrepreneur in 2005, and in 2015, I moved to the internet. 2 years after 2015, in 2017, I started making a living entirely from the internet. Today, I have 10 sources of income, and just one is my 12 YouTube channels, 10 of which are monetized. So I work with photography, with video, with providing services, and I have an app that I'm going to launch very soon. You'll hear about it. I have my mentorship program. I have my course platform, which used to be the main focus, but now it comes as a bonus in my mentorship. So basically, the important thing is to use artificial intelligence to create sources of income. This still requires experience. It's as simple as that. Continuing.
Okay, maybe the last one I'll mention here is the most similar and actually offers a lot of tools for those who work with Photoshop. Photopea is quite practical, like Canva. We can open PSD files in Photopea, which is pretty interesting, but it's more for quick edits, for pasting, for resizing images, but it's worth checking out. Honorable mention, as I already mentioned, Canva is a very complete app, more for those who work with social media, to create designs more quickly as well. I find it quite interesting, but it's not as complete as Photoshop. GIMP was recommended to me by some people in the video. It's also free and open source. This one actually runs directly on your computer, so it's quite complete, has layers, and is very similar to Photoshop. It's a bit more complex to learn, just like Photoshop, right? Photoshop is complex to learn, there's a lot to learn in Photoshop and in GIMP as well, folks, but it's a very powerful and complete tool, so it's really worth it. For anyone who wants to move away from Photoshop, stop using it irregularly, and switch to a free app, GIMP is a great option. And this one that many people recommended to me, this one is paid, is Affinity Photo, folks. I downloaded this one on my computer to test it out, and I found it very similar to Photoshop. It costs, as of today, when I checked, $69, which is about 400 reais, but it's a one-time purchase, so it's yours, lifetime license. Very similar to Photoshop. It's basically Photoshop, okay, folks? Really, it's very similar. I found it quite alike, very intuitive. The tools are very similar, even the mouse and keyboard shortcuts. You know, I played around with the photo, started doing some editing, a quick edit just to see how it was. The shortcuts are very similar, so I highly recommend it, guys. You pay a...
I'm going to make a mention here now, and those who work with photos professionally will probably get mad at me. But basically, nowadays, there's a tool called Flux Context with a K. I've already made a video about it here on the channel. I'll leave it later here in the description. But basically, you look at a photo, and then you say by text, you say, remove that pimple, get rid of the skin's oiliness, change the background, change the clothes. You say it, right? You write what you want. And it does a professional edit in seconds, something that someone using Photoshop, even with a lot of experience, might take a few minutes, sometimes a few hours, and someone who doesn't know Photoshop maybe days. And Flux Context, in just a few more seconds, I'll even open it up right here just to fully show you, but basically, I will leave the complete video for you guys to watch. Today, it actually surpasses Midjourney, which is the main tool out there. One of the best, still is one of the best. It's there between, second, and third anyway. But basically, this is the tool here, okay, guys? With this tool, you edit in a way that's totally different from Photoshop because you just click here, look, choose the image. Then I said, oh, I want this image. I want to change it to this. What do I write? I write it like this. Look, it's even written here. Check it out. The person has this image here. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Look. So, for example, they're here. Then they say, look, change the lighting to something more photographic, and it changes to this. Then, look, turn this into a product P, into a professional product showcase, and then it looks like this. So, look, these are some tests here. So the way you edit, and it is editing, the button here, look, edit. How you edit is something completely different. Look, for example, here, the image had these pieces of furniture. Then he put here, look, remove the furniture. I wanted to open it here, but it's not letting me. I wanted to open it to show you, but it doesn't get bigger here, which is what I wanted to show. Let me see if it lets me here. Ah, here. I managed. Look, it comes here. You just say, remove the furniture. It simply removes it. It's that simple, you know? How long would it take you to do this in Photoshop? With something so perfect, even under the rug? No, there's nothing here. This is the original photo, and it can even calculate the lighting coming in from the window. How long would it take you to do this in Photoshop? But if you want to know more about this video here, I'll leave it in the video suggestions at the end. Okay? Wonderful.
Look, you don't need to keep paying a subscription like with Photoshop. Alternatives to Adobe Premiere. Let's go. I've been editing in Adobe Premiere for, I don't know, about 7 or 8 years, man. So for me, it's been really hard to edit this video, just like the last ones here on the channel in DaVinci Resolve, okay? DaVinci Resolve has a free version, which is the one I'm using right now. I'm gonna buy the paid version as soon as I really learn it and can say, man, okay, now I can just stick with DaVinci because there are things I still can do. Sometimes I have to keep searching on the internet and I waste time. The learning curve really is very steep, right? It takes quite a while to get used to it, to understand the tool. But I'm forcing myself to learn, guys, and something crazy happened after I exported the video here in DaVinci. I was shocked, and it really made me put the final nail in the coffin for Premiere. Not yet, of course. As soon as I learn how to use it, once I'm really familiar with DaVinci, then yes, I'll put the final nail in the coffin. But man, it was during the export, during the video rendering. I have a MacBook Pro M1 with 16 gigabytes of RAM.
He's going to say that DaVinci is much faster.
1 terabyte of storage. The M1 processor isn't that new, right? I think it was released in 2020. But the M1 Pro is pretty powerful, man. I can edit photos, edit 4K videos very smoothly. But there was always one thing I never liked. Man, whenever I exported or rendered my videos here in Premiere, it would take at least 30 minutes, sometimes 40 or 50 minutes, depending on the video, the size, and how much information or video elements I put on the timeline. Man, at the very least, it was never less than 30 minutes to render video. I was amazed when I exported the video in DaVinci, a 12 or 13 minute video, which is about the average length I make here on the channel, and it took about 10 minutes. 10 minutes, guys. Man, I was shocked. I said, dude, I need to edit only with DaVinci because when I'm exporting with Premiere, I just leave it here exporting, rendering the video, which takes 30, 40, 50 minutes an hour. I leave the PC on, the Mac on, and go do something else. So I can't use the computer anymore because it's busy rendering the video. With DaVinci, man, it's so fast. So I highly recommend it, guys. I went on a bit longer here talking about DaVinci, but that's because it really surprised me, especially this rendering part. I know this isn't even 1% of all the power DaVinci has, right? A lot of people say that DaVinci is excellent. It's much better than Premiere for color grading, especially. So I'm forcing myself to edit in DaVinci, and I believe that soon I'll stop using Premiere. The second free app is CapCut. Even though CapCut has been a bit controversial in recent months.
Yeah, it's supposed to be free, but not really, right? Let's talk about it here, right? It used to be free and it was really good. Then there's that Canva issue I mentioned, because when you have a good free product and you start adding new features that make you want them, you think, oh, I'll pay for it. That's what made me switch to paid Canva. Now, CapCut it's a different strategy. They took features that used to be free and started charging for them, even some really ridiculous things. For example, let me go from the least bad to the worst. I always used to extract the audio from the video, right? Because sometimes I wanted the same background music, the same soundtrack, the same song in another video. Sure, I could have the track saved, but lazy mode, right? I would just take the video I had already recorded and extract the soundtrack. And now, extracting the audio is a paid feature. Now, I'll mention an even worse one, so this video doesn't get too long, right? Actually, I'll mention two. Some filters, There was a filter, for example, that made the video black and white, like a noir effect. Instead of releasing new filters, they started making some filters paid. There was also an old school retro filter, kind of yellowish. No, it's paid. And to top it off, the ridiculous thing is that now, when you go to render the videos, like you edited the video, managed to do it for free, you hit render now, you can only render a few times. After that, it's paid. So, with CapCut, it's not that you feel like paying jits. The strategy they use to try to make you pay no matter what, which is kind of infuriating and makes you want to, if you can find another option, just switch to another company out of spite. Not like Canva, which I subscribe to out of love. Look, you guys deserve it. No, with CapCut, it's real hatred,
I believe at the end of last year, there was some controversy because CapCut introduced in their terms of use that they could use all the content produced and edited by the user. Basically, the terms gave them total power over the user's content while exempting CapCut from any legal issues. So if you edited a video on CapCut and rendered it, that video isn't yours, it's CapCut's. Yes, if you accepted the terms, you're giving CapCut the power, you're giving them the content to use however they want, including for advertising, for marketing.
That's true. And another thing, there are some apps that, like, let's take Suno, for example, that amazing music app. If you generate music on the free plan, you don't have the right to use it for monetization. You can use it in your videos and all that, but not for monetization. So you know what could happen? You're using it on YouTube. Everything's fine. You're monetizing, you're making money. But at some point, you might suddenly get a copyright claim out of nowhere. You were using it, everything was working, and then suddenly, bam, copyright claim. Wait, what happened? Did I do something wrong? But wait, I was the one who created the music. Okay, but did you pay for the plan? Number. So every time you go to download, it shows there that you can't use it for monetization. Now, if you pay for the plan, then the music is yours. So there's this issue between the free and paid versions. You have to be careful with that.
Anyway, okay, you gave them total power, so I found that a bit weird, okay? I have to admit to you guys that I use CapCut on my phone. Where's my phone? I don't even know where it is. I use CapCut on my phone, okay? But I got a little concerned about that. Anyway, CapCut is free, you can try it out. Another editing app that I didn't know about is Shortcut, okay? It's also a free and open source app. It's much simpler and more geared towards those who are just starting out with editing. People who want to learn, who are still taking their first steps in editing, but don't want to buy an app, don't want to subscribe to something like Premiere, and want an interface that's a bit simpler, easier, and more intuitive to edit with. And I can't leave out mentioning Final Cut as a video editor as well. It's paid, but there is a version you can try out. I've tried editing with Final Cut before, and I found it more complicated than editing with DaVinci. Anyway, for me it was harder. I really tried to edit with it, but I gave up. Not with DaVinci though. I've tried DaVinci twice before and gave up, and this is the third time I'm trying, and this time I'm doing better. But for those who have a Mac, and this is what got me a bit, everyone says, man, if you have a Mac, edit with Final Cut is going to be so much better. Final Cut's performance is much better because it's made by Apple, so it has much better integration with the M1 chip, much better integration. But unfortunately, guys, I just couldn't get used to Final Cut. I tried editing a video and it just didn't work out.
Hey guys, 2 questions. First, do you use any of these apps or are you going to start using them now? Which one did you like the most? And second question, do you already edit your own videos, your own photos? Are you already monetizing in some way? Leave a comment below. I'll leave that video, I promised. I'll leave a playlist, but you'll find that Flux contest video. Just look for it and you'll find it, all right? See you in the next video. See you soon.